Many of us with migraine are understandably hesitant to get our hopes up about trying new migraine treatments. Maybe you've been burned before by experts who are so confident they're going to get to the root of your migraine and fix you, but don't. Or maybe you've tried so many meds with side effects that are even worse than the migraine itself. Hello, everybody. I'm Adrienne Delorco, the creator of Yoga for Migraine and Beyond Migraine Coaching, and I'm here to say your doubts and skepticism are welcome to the table. I'm going to explain today why it's okay to have doubts about new migraine treatments. I'll discuss why your skepticism and doubts are valid and understandable, why you can still benefit from trying new migraine treatments even if you have those doubts, and how not to lose hope even if nothing has helped you before. If you are joining live, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you from? Have you had doubts, skepticism about trying new things? Where do you think that comes from? If you're joining on the replay, you can write hashtag replay into the comments. All of this helps to just boost our algorithm so more people watch. And I'd love to hear your experience as we chat about this important topic. So let's dive in. Why you might understandably have doubts, feel skeptical when it comes to trying new migraine treatments. So I hope you can relate to some of these. You have migraine and you probably spent a ton of money, a ton of time, a ton of treatments for your migraine, whether they were pharmaceutical, whether they were groovy. You've tried it all and you still have migraine. Your migraine might have even gotten worse over the years despite everything you've tried. You might have quote unquote failed so many treatments along your migraine journey, treatments that were not intended for migraine and that were just required for step therapy, what the insurance companies require for you to just move up to the meds that are actually designed for migraine. Maybe you tried meds and they did help for a while, but then they stopped working. Maybe you have felt invalidated by your doctors, not listened to, felt like you were exaggerating, felt like they didn't understand how severe your migraine is. You might have been through so many doctors that you're at the point where your doctors are saying, there's nothing more I can do for you, which can be one of the most hopeless things to hear, most disheartening things to hear when you're dealing with chronic migraine. You might have also trusted many experts already who felt like they were 100% confident that they could fix you and they fell short. I'll share some of my experiences. I have worked with a number of different, alternative, even, doctors, but also dentists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. One of the first things I tried was working with my dentist, who was 100% confident that if I just wore this night guard, it would help with my TMJ and it would get rid of my migraine attacks. Nope, it didn't, but he was so sure of himself. I worked with another chiropractor who was supposedly a migraine expert. He even had his place called the Migraine Center, seemed very legit, and it was just him giving my head a quick tweak, come back in 2 days, and it just kept going on and on like this for weeks. He was so confident he knew how to fix my migraine, and it never improved. I spent so much time and money going to those appointments. So after these experiences, it makes sense that you might be a little skeptical. It might be a little hard to trust a new treatment, a new practitioner. Also, I've noticed that sometimes quote unquote experts might have a one-sided or oversimplified perspective on migraine, where maybe the dentist only sees it, or the physical therapist only sees it from the structural angle, that there's just something structurally wrong with your neck or your jaw and that's going to fix your migraine. Maybe the pain reprocessing therapist only sees it from a psychological perspective and sees that, oh, if you can just decrease your preoccupation about migraine, everything's going to be fixed. Maybe the doctor only sees it from a genetic perspective and it's all about just finding the right proteins that will interrupt your migraine pathways and finding the right medication. And what all these people are missing is this biopsychosocial perspective where, in my view, all of these things can contribute to migraine, and it just takes a lot of trial and error to find out what is the missing pieces for you. What I hope you take from this talk is that there is no one thing that is going to cure your chronic migraine. It's hard to hear. We wish there was a silver bullet, but there's not just one thing. So, to sum up, after going through so many of these experiences that I've described, it is so understandable that you might be a little doubtful when it comes to trying something new. And that doubt, that skepticism, is protecting you from being disappointed and devastated again when something doesn't work out, when you still have migraine after trying this new thing. So I'm also wanting to share that you can, even if you have doubts, even if you have skepticism, you can still benefit from trying new migraine treatments. So let me explain. Especially when it comes to more quote-unquote mind-body approaches. These are approaches like pain reprocessing. Maybe you've dabbled with the Curable app or explored journal speak. These are all mind-body practices that are derived from more of that psychological approach in which we are relying heavily on belief, on our changing our thoughts in a way to, in our approach to changing chronic pain. And many of these approaches, something that I've struggled with is this heavy reliance on belief, where one of the first steps in doing that type of work is understanding and believing that your pain is quote unquote neuroplastic, it's TMS. It's basically your brain has developed incorrect processing of threat, of pain, but there's not something physiological or structurally wrong with you. And I'm maybe a little bit different, even though I've been trained in pain reprocessing, that I don't think you have to buy into that as the first step. I think you can still benefit from these mind-body approaches without taking a side that your migraine is 100% neuroplastic or it's 100% just biological. I believe that it's probably both. I think migraine is a biopsychosocial condition, just like so many things, that all of these aspects of ourselves affect migraine. So I want to welcome that you can still try pain reprocessing. You can still try some of these mind-body techniques, even if you're like, this sounds a little woo-woo. This sounds kind of like, if I just journal, that is this really going to help my chronic pain? Like, you can still have those doubts and do it anyway. And then you get that real life evidence and feedback for yourself. Is it helping? If I do it, is it not? I try to take more of an agnostic approach. We don't have to believe one way or the other. We can just be open. We can be open to all these practices. Belief doesn't have to be required to benefit. So benefiting just by being open, and to also share that when most of my Beyond Migraine coaching clients come to me, they have tried the myriad of medicines, of alternative practices. They're kind of at the end of their rope. By the time they get to me, they're pretty skeptical. I rarely have someone that's just like dives in 100%, this is going to solve all my problems. Most people try this without much hope, really, that this will help, that coaching is going to make an impact. To share some quotes from my recent clients, my client Pam said when she first started Beyond Migraine, she was, quote, skeptical, hopeless, fearful, doubtful, unhappy, and defeated. And then after our 8-week coaching program, she said, for the first time in over 3 years, I'm happy and joyful. She went from 12 code red migraine days that prevented her from being functional to just 1 after 8 weeks. That coming in being very doubtful that what I was going to do with her was going to help and work. Another example is my client Lisa, who said after her CGRP meds stopped working for her, she said, quote, "I'll admit I was skeptical to start out with. I had tried other non-pharmacological practices with no relief. I'm so glad I was wrong." So coming into Beyond Migraine, being like, oh, yoga, pain reprocessing, I don't know, is this really going to do much? By the end of our 8-week program, she reduced her migraine days by 67%, went from a chronic level to an episodic. So yes, these are anecdotes, but I do see this time and time again with my coaching clients. It's okay to be skeptical coming in. It's normal, it's understandable, and you can still benefit. You can still experience a transformation. You can still experience change just with some openness. So finding that middle ground where you don't have to 100% believe in it all, but you also don't have to be totally cut off from possibility. I like my clients to have an attitude of openness, a sense of possibility that things can get better. So finally, I want to chat about how not to lose hope, even if nothing has worked before. If you have been to that place, that dark place where you've lost hope, you can say hello in the chat, because I've been there too, especially at the height of my chronic migraine. I really did lose hope. I felt like I was trying all the things. I was working with a therapist because I was so depressed. I was working with multiple doctors, acupuncturists, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to continue working, having more kids. That low point, when you lose hope, really is a tough place. And if you are there, if you've been there, I understand. And I want to share how we can start to move out of that hopeless place and why it's actually really important for your chronic migraine as well. So multiple studies have shown that when we lose hope, that your chronic pain can get better. It definitely affects your mental health and even your pain tolerance. So when my mental health went downhill as my physical health did, then we just get into this deep pit of despair, and the pain is more acute because everything feels so big, it feels so heavy. And so hope really is something that we intentionally can cultivate, a muscle that we can build for ourselves that not only helps us cope with the difficulties of living with chronic migraine, but it really does improve our well-being, our mental health, and it really decreases pain. So if that doesn't help give you motivation to cultivate hope again, it really changes everything when we can make that shift from hopeless to having even just 2% hope. That's something you can build on. When we develop hope, it also gives us a sense of agency so that we don't feel so victimized by chronic migraine that there's nothing we can do. That doesn't help you feel good, but when you have maybe just a little glimmer of hope that it's possible things can get a little bit better. It's possible I can find a medication that might help bring my pain down. It's possible that some of these mind-body practices can alleviate some of my suffering. Just being open that it can get better. Now, you don't have to be 100%. I believe that my migraine can be cured. So that's where finding that middle ground can help, where it's not all or nothing. Because what we also need to consider when we say, oh, nothing works, nothing has worked, what does work mean? What qualifies as something working for your migraine? Is it only like, I don't have migraine anymore? Because I'll be open here, that's rarely gonna happen. This is a neurological condition. I still have migraine and it fluctuates. So setting yourself up not to have these unrealistic expectations. really, even the best preventative migraine treatments only reduce symptoms by half. Like, that's the best we can do. That still, though, is hopeful, because what I advocate that my clients do in Beyond Migraine is that we layer all these approaches so that maybe a 25% improvement from your preventative med added on to a 25% improvement from practicing yoga and decreasing your stress, added on to a 25% improvement from being in a small group of other migraine warriors who understand and create a sense of community and emotional connection. All of these layers then add up to a significant improvement in your migraine. Not only that, then it starts to snowball and you build momentum and a virtuous cycle, so that now that you're feeling better, you can be more physically active. And as you're more physically active, that improves your mood and you're able to get out more, and these things build. So it just takes that tiny small spark that I can feel a little bit better. It is possible. Along with that, it takes a bit of a focus to shift from all the things that are wrong when we have chronic migraine to celebrating small wins. And that is a practice we do every single week in our Beyond Migraine group coaching calls. We celebrate the smallest wins that, to people without migraine, feel like, yeah, I can do that, no problem. But for those of us with debilitating chronic migraine, we know how big of a deal it is. And to see other people celebrate that, hey, I went out for a 5-minute walk and we are hooting and hollering for you, those things make a difference. That builds hope, it builds confidence that things can continue to improve, and it feels doable. It feels doable to then do a 6-minute walk. So remember, there is no one thing that is going to cure your chronic migraine. That's a hard pill to swallow, but what we can feel hopeful for is that it can get better. I truly do believe that wherever you are on the migraine continuum, whether you have a migraine once a year or daily chronic migraine, that you can shift where you are. You can shift down to more of an episodic place, that even if symptoms are high, that your ability to cope, that your ability to still function and live a full life, that can improve. There's always some little percent that we can adjust. And I really strive to do that with my clients, where we're tweaking all these little aspects of your life from a biopsychosocial approach, 1 to 2% at a time. But those 1 to 2% tweaks, they add up, they layer, and then they build exponentially. So thank you all for listening. I hope that you feel okay, understandable, normal, having doubts when trying new migraine treatments. It is part of the deal when we have tried so many things that have not significantly helped, and that to encourage you to keep up some spark of hope. It is essential for your mental health, for your spirit, and for your migraine that we do keep trying, and give whatever you try a good few months before you really evaluate what has helped. And that finally, it's not just one thing. We got to try it all. We got to try meds, we got to try devices, we got to try exercise, we got to try pain reprocessing, that all these things come together, and when we add it up, it really can make a difference. If you are interested in learning more about Beyond Migraine, or just want to get another perspective on your life with migraine, for a limited time, I'm offering 15-minute complimentary migraine lifestyle audits. I'll throw it in the chat, and this is where I personally help you understand what your current migraine challenges are with empathy and understanding, no judgment. I help you identify, trying to find my place to put in the comments. Let me talk and then I'll put in the comments. Here we go. I help you identify which aspects of your lifestyle to adjust first to get the biggest reduction in your migraine symptoms. For some people, that might be how to adjust your sleep a little bit. For others, how to reduce stress. So help you see where to focus and then help you determine baby steps to take to help you decrease your migraine symptoms in a sustainable, doable way. So thank you all. We've got another cohort of Beyond Migraine that starts July 7th, and I'd love to talk to you if you would like more support. Bring your doubts, bring your skepticism with you, and I look forward to talking with you. Thank you.